The International Christian Embassy Jerusalem is your embassy in the heart of Israel, founded in 1980. From our headquarters in Jerusalem through our branches in over 80 nations and yours in Canada, we seek to challenge the church to take up its scriptural responsibility, to remind Israel of the promises made to her in the Bible, and to be a source of practical assistance to all the people in the land of Israel. On today's program, a trip to the city of David, a visit to a kibbutz, the Golan Heights, following a deadly attack by Hezbollah. Our young adult panel explores the question of how Christians can bless and support Israel.
So we've just crossed the street and now we're on the west side of the old city of David. This is an exciting excavation here going on behind us.
In a little bit more than the last 10 years, they've been working in this place. It was a parking lot actually originally, and now a museum is going to be built here one day once they finish all this. But on the way they found, till this moment, 11 different layers of ruins. Since the Middle Ages, about 1,000 years ago, down to the First Temple period, 26, 27, 2,800 years back. The main thing you can actually see right now is a massive structure that we can see its side rooms right here behind us. The other end of the same structure is at the other end of the excavation site. It's a very large house with rooms all around, a big garden in the middle, and of course, a few nice little things. I'm sure you all know that when an earring is lost, it's only one earring. The other pair, we need to keep it. So one earring was found right here. It's this earring you can see right here.
Beautiful.
Golden earring with pearls and emeralds.
Pearls and emeralds.
Where's the other one? Well, I don't know. This is from about 1,800 years ago, from the Roman days. I don't know where the other one is. But this was found in one of the rooms of this house. Roof tiles were found here with Roman letters on them, mentioning the 10th Roman Legion, the one that destroyed Jerusalem year 70, but rebuilt it as a new Roman city on top of the ruins in the next 2 centuries. One of the most amazing finds found here, December 2008, was found in these rooms right down below us. These are parts of cellars and the beginning of the first floor of a building from about 1,400 years ago, the 6th and 7th century. And inside one of these rooms, 264 gold coins were found. All clean, never used, from the mint, wrapped in a little bit piece of cloth, put on a shelf, and never used. The building was destroyed the next year. The coins are from 613, the building was destroyed 614 in a massive fire, and no one came to get this gold back home.
I'm looking here and I'm seeing notes in the wall here, in the little nooks and crannies. Tell us about where we are.
We're actually standing at the foundations of the Western Wall, the famous Western Wall. That part of it is the Wailing Wall, or where many people come to pray, is a part of a very, very large wall. We are below the surface of the street at the time, so if you look at the stones, you'll see they aren't as nice and polished as you usually see them when you look at pictures or the location of the prayer area at the Western Wall. We're at the foundations. This is bedrock. This is the first level. There are actually 22 layers that we know in most places a little bit less, that still stand. Original stones of the Western Wall. The Temple Mount actually supports the huge structure where the temple was actually located. This is a huge project, and the workers putting these stones were so precise and so accurate. They made this amazing frame around each and every stone. And a very known custom in the last centuries is that people coming and putting their names and their prayers on notes. And once this was discovered, and since open to the public in the last few years, many visitors came and said, it's the same thing right here at the foundations, just like the open space that is several yards north of us in that direction. We're actually looking at the foundations of the Western Wall. You can count here 4 original layers. We climb up, get onto the street, and see many more above our head, but we're actually talking about the very famous Temple Mount walls. There are 4 of them. The Western Wall is famous. Of course, they're northern, eastern, and southern as well. But that's the stones that many people come in the last centuries to pray next to. So here, in this excavation, right next to the drainage channel, when they understood where the location of the excavation is, they said, let's just move a little bit eastward. And yep, right in front, this huge stone wall stands with no cement holding the stones together, just their weight and 2,000 years of history. We climbed up, and now we're on the marketplace street, even though it's heavily damaged. On one side of the street, the ruins of the shops along the western wall. You can see the amazing polished stones right in here. On the other side, more shops. And in the middle, look at the stones. Look what happened to them. They're cracked, smashed, broken, caved in. Because of what? Because of the destruction. Year 70, the Romans not only destroyed the temple, they also pushed, shoved, stone by stone, tons of stone, crashing down on the street. In this excavation, most of the stones were removed, so we can walk on the street. But they left us a huge pile. That's just one example of a huge amount of stones that actually covered the street. The Romans said, destroy, smash, nothing will be left. The amazing thing is, by destroying and smashing, everything was left. Because when all the stones were picked up, oil lamps, pottery vessels, coins, inscriptions, anything from the days of the Second Temple was found down on the street, discovered piece by piece, telling us the story of the marketplace of Jerusalem.
So we're standing at the base of the Kotel, the wall, the western wall. Behind me are shuks. These are where the shops would be. And we read in, and this particular one has been identified as the money changer. In Matthew 21, 12 to 17, when Jesus entered the temple, he drove out all who sold and bought in the temple. And he overturned the tables of the money changers and the seats of those who sold pigeons. He said to them, "It is written, my house shall be called a house of prayer, but you make it a den of robbers." And the blind and the lame came to him in the temple, and he healed them. But when the chief priests and the scribes saw the wonderful things that he did, and the children crying out in the temple, they said, "Hosanna to the Son of David." They were indignant, and they said to him, "Do you hear what these are saying?" And Jesus said to them, "Yes. Have you never read? Out of the mouth of infants and nursing babies, you have prepared praise." Here we're standing at the base of the Kotel. What is here but heavy stones? We read that Jesus predicted that these stones would fall when no one would believe him. In Matthew 24, 1 and 2, Jesus said, he went up to the temple and was going on his way, and his disciples came to him to show him the buildings of the temple. But he answered and said unto them, "See ye not all these things? Verily I say unto you, there shall not be left here one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down." And here we have a marker to show that these rocks from the Temple Mount were destroyed by the Romans in 70 AD.
I will lift up my eyes to the hills. From where does my help come? My help comes from the Lord, who made heaven and earth. He will not let your foot slip. He who keeps you will not slumber. Up next, a visit to a kibbutz on the Golan Heights following a deadly Hezbollah attack.
I mean, we're hearing everything in the news going on with the Hezbollah attacks on the IDF, but I'd like to hear it from your point of view, what is taking place and what your analysis is.
Well, for the past 3.5 years, there's a civil war that's going on in Syria, which is probably about 3.5 kilometers away from us, the borderline. We hear it. Sometimes more intense, sometimes less. Most of the borderline with Israel is not controlled anymore by Assad, President Assad of Syria and the Syrian army. It's controlled by what they call the rebels. It's a bunch of different groups, a lot of terror groups, a lot of Al-Qaeda, especially close to our borderline. And we do get some of it falling into our areas from time to time. Nobody says if it's intentionally or if it's just something that's, you know, they don't aim very well and they miss, or it goes because we're so close to the borderline. But it's pretty intense. We are aware of things that's going on. We're waiting to see what's going to develop, what's tomorrow is going to bring, basically. And IDF increasing its forces around the borderline here and in Syria. Hezbollah, which is a group that it's part of the parliament in Lebanon, actually are operating inside of Syria, helping President Assad as well as the Iranians, who are basically trying to maintain his control in Syria. So we do get some of it. Just 2 days ago, we had 2 sirens, alarms, basically that was sound. There was some falling not far away from here. One was on the Hermon mountain. One was very close to our kibbutz. And you know, it can happen every day. Can bring something new.
You give us the history of it, but the media more recently discusses that this was a retaliatory attack because of an Iranian leader, a Hezbollah leader, that was killed, and that was the reason for the latest round. What's your reply to that?
Well, I read the news just like everybody else, and I guess you know, Israel didn't take you know, the full responsibility for this attack, but those people were actually planning to do attacks on the land of Israel by establishing more terror groups close to our borderline and do some attacks like they did before, either go inside into settlements here in the Golan Heights or different places and do the things that they know how to do best, to kill our kids, women, innocent civilians, not against the army only. And it's something that it's, you know, the Golan Heights was quiet for like 40 years, very, very quiet. So President Assad knew better than not to provoke anything against Israel from this side of the borderline, basically. But the situation is changing on a daily basis. Syria is not controlled by one person or one government. It's a bunch of different groups that basically pulling the strings anywhere they want to. And there's forceful fighting that's going on every day in Syria. The media announced that they passed the 200,000 people death toll, which the majority of them are women and kids. So, you know.
How is this affecting your kibbutz here?
Well, we keep on living the normal life. You just came and visit our tourist attraction place. We live the same, with more awareness of things that can happen. Everybody is involved with the security, is more aware of things. We do more practicing and we do more things to prepare ourselves so we don't get, you know, but we don't want that to be like what the Gaza Strip is all about, you know.
You have a history that's tied in to the Valley of Tears here. Can you give us a little bit of insight into that?
Valley of Tears was one of the most known tanks battles during the Yom Kippur War, the October 1973 war. One of the places that the Syrians tried to get through, and they were stopped by Battalion 77 and their commander, a dear guy by the name of Avigdor Kaalani, that was announced, he was decorated as a war hero after that, the highest Medal of Honor, basically. And since then, basically, the Golan Heights was pretty much the quietest border of Israel. Nowadays, it's not anymore, unfortunately.
Now the Lord said to Abram, "Go from your country, your family, and your father's house to the land that I will show you. I will make of you a great nation. I will bless you and make your name great, so that you will be a blessing. I will bless them who bless you, and curse him who curses you. And in you all families of the earth will be blessed."
I'm Adam Gabelli. I'm the Arise Canada Director, which is the young adult wing of ICEJ. And it's such an honor for me today to have with me Faitine Grzeski, Aaron Traversy, and Meredith Holbrook. And we're going to be addressing a young adult question from a Canadian young adult about Israel today. So let's play the question.
Hello, this is Ray from Vancouver, BC, Canada. My question about Israel is, how is it that we can bless and support the people of Israel? And is there a lot of need in that country?
Well, guys, this is something that really excites me, because when we bless Israel, we're fulfilling a biblical mandate. And there's a promise that comes with it that those that bless Israel will be blessed. I know all of you guys have been to Israel. All of you guys have seen the need in that nation. Do you have any thoughts? How can we bless Israel? And of course, what needs have you guys seen in Israel? I'm going to start with you, Meredith.
There's a lot of different needs in Israel, and there's so many different organizations that exist there in the land. So if you're really looking at bringing aid to the people and to the land, there's so many people on the ground that you can connect with. There's organizations like Save a Child's Heart Foundation, which gives free open heart surgery to children right there outside of Tel Aviv in the city of Holon. Then there's another one which is absolutely amazing, also done by a Torontonian, which is Operation Life Shield, and they put in bomb shelters into the necessary areas in Israel, like Sderot, right outside of Gaza, Ashkelon, Ashdod, and then all the way to the north at the Lebanon border in Nahariya. So there's really a lot of really great organizations, a lot of food banks. The Jaffa Institute is another one that really has a wonderful absorption center for immigrants that come in and new moms and everything like this, and people that maybe didn't have the opportunity to go to school or get a certain type of education, or maybe learn how to make a nutritious meal for their children. So there's a lot of really wonderful organizations like this, and like every country, there's always going to be people in need.
Mm-hmm.
Good point.
Faitine, I know you've been many times to Israel. What are some of the things that you've noticed needs in the land?
Well, first of all, I want to say this. I think it's an excellent question, because a lot of times when we think of Israel, just like when people think of Canada, maybe, you think of affluence. You think of the land of promise, right? But I was really shocked to learn, I've been to Israel now probably about a dozen times, and to see how much need there is there, both amongst the Orthodox community, individuals that have been there for generations, but also there's a huge refugee population, people that have just come, whether it's from Eastern Europe, mostly Eastern Europeans are the ones that I observed, who are just landing in Israel. They're making aliyah. They believe God has called them to actually root in the land of Israel, to help reestablish the Israeli presence there, right, and under the biblical mandate. But there's tremendous need. Some of them, don't have the ability to work yet because of the immigration procedure, right? And some of them are coming with large families. Some of them are elderly. That was one thing that I noticed when I was in the land, that there's a tremendous amount of need amongst the elderly right there in Israel. And so that was actually a real eye-opener to me, that, man, there is a huge opportunity. And I wanted to say this. I was thinking at the opening of this segment about that scripture that says that he who touches Israel touches the apple of the Lord's eye. And a lot of times we think about that scripture in the context of, the people who hurt Israel, really tick God off, you know what I mean? Yeah. But I think the inverse is true too, that when we touch the people in the land, when we bring his mercy, his compassion through meeting practical needs, we also minister to the heart of God, that we have the ability to touch the apple of his eye in a good way as well. And I think we have that mandate to do so.
Yeah. Aaron, you've had an opportunity to be in Israel on young adults tours, and then of course living there for a bit. Any thoughts?
Yeah, well, I'd like to touch on in contrast to what Meredith was saying about when you're in Israel, there's a lot of different organizations that you can help with. But there's a lot of different ways that people at home that are in the US and Canada can help out from afar. Like for me, for instance, I do work in graphic design and different digital mediums. And with my work with ICEJ, my volunteer work, I've helped create just volunteer and create flyers and just random things for them that they can, they can utilize for their mission and to help Israel in that regard.
I want to say, I think that's huge. We met with some members of the Knesset, and I remember that we would ask them at the end of the meeting, what can we do to support, to bless Israel? And they would always say, be an advocate. Yeah. Go back to Canada, tell our stories, share about the needs, like what we're doing on this show right now, and use our skills to be a voice for Israel. I think that's a huge point.
Yeah. And of course, in Canada and in the States, there's so many different ministries, Christian ministries, that are working on this. But of course, ICEJ is where we're working, and we're so blessed. I'm so honored to be part of this amazing ministry that has its hands and feet in the land of Israel. We're really being the hands and feet of Jesus to almost every facet of Israeli society. I think some of you guys may have had a chance to visit some of our aid projects in the land. One of my favorites, Faitine, you mentioned seniors, is the Holocaust Home for Survivors in Haifa that is totally supported by the embassy. And it's amazing to see. It's actually the only home in Israel specifically for Holocaust survivors. And we're just putting such dignity and honor upon a people, an actual demographic that has experienced such suffering and pain. And so it's amazing to see how ICEJ is doing that. Meredith, you mentioned Operation Life Shield, which ICEJ is so involved in with Rabbi Shmuel Bowman, and we're just saving Israeli lives. You know, it's not only just aid for people in need for food and everything, but it's also bringing protection and saving lives from the danger around Israel.
Two other opportunities that I observed when I was in Israel was the need for ambulance services. I didn't know, like here in Canada, the ambulance services are provided for by the government. Well, in Israel, there is no ambulance service provided by the government, at least the last I learned about this. And so supporting those organizations is huge. The other thing is the abortion rate in Israel. I was really shocked to learn that Israel has one of the highest abortion rates
in the Middle East,
and in first world nations even, and that's usually a support issue. Most studies will show, definitively that women who are supported will choose to keep their babies, and so there's a huge opportunity in Israel to support unwed, pregnant moms, women who find themselves pregnant that just need some extra aid. So I think that's a really big one.
Yeah. Well, I really want to thank you guys for your stand for Israel. And I think we need to continue to encourage young people from the beautiful nation of Canada that we live in to really stand with this nation. It's a miracle nation. Really, it's the only nation that has is presenting our values in that area of the world. So thank you guys for those amazing comments.
The new anti-Semitism is now anti-Zionism, or anti the state of Israel. One of the greatest strategies that is being employed against the state of Israel is the boycott, divestment, sanctions movement, which is seeking to put pressure on Israel by banning Israeli products. The fact, very simply, is that this is anti-Semitism at its very core. Even Jewish professors are now being banned from teaching in certain universities. And of course, the BDS movement has now become the spearheading initiative to delegitimize, demonize the Jewish state of Israel. Ladies and gentlemen, the best way that we can obviously stand in support of Israel is to purchase Israeli products and once again not remain silent in the public institutions of our nation, speaking very clearly regarding Israel and its right to exist as a nation. I want to encourage you not only to pray for the peace of Jerusalem, but to pray for the prosperity of Israel and the Jewish people. We owe them so many things. They have blessed our economies, and they have advanced the very cause of technology all over the world. Having said that, support the state of Israel, and you will be blessed.
We're in the old city, walled city of Jerusalem, and where we're standing right now is in Christ Church, and it is the first Protestant church in the Holy Land. Maddie's going to tell us a little more about it, when it was built and the significance of Christ Church here.
Actually, Donna, it's the first church in the Middle East, the first Protestant church in the Middle East, built here in 1850. It was built as an Anglican, the branch of the Anglican Protestant Church, and today, as we can see, and I will show you immediately, it is more part of the Messianical Jews. We can see here that aside of the shape of the cross, we have many Jewish symbols embedded inside the church. First of all, this beautiful table, which is originally from the 19th century. It has many, well, first of all, we can see here in Hebrew, it is written, Zot asu lezichoni, this made in my memory. And we can see the Star of David over here, the name Emmanuel in Hebrew, which is one of the the names of Jesus Christ, which is based on what is written in the Old Testament, and the crown, which is said to be the crown of the true King of the Holy Land of Jesus Christ. Over there, the Alpha and the Omega, of course.
The beginning and the end.
Yes, and Jesus, the Redeemer of men. It is a symbol with initials. Of course, more in the back we can see the menorah, which is the most important Jewish symbol. We can see that we can see in those two windows a tree, which one side of it has the symbol of the menorah, and the other side the symbol of cross, together of the same branch of tree.
We conclude our program today with some sights and sounds within Israel.
Yeah. What did you guys? What's that up there? Kings? 'Cause he's.
In consideration of Canada's 150th birthday, please consider 150 ways to bless Israel through your Christian embassy, the ICEJ Canada. Consider becoming a $150 monthly donor. Plant 150 trees, 150 prayers for Israel. The opportunities are endless. Please contact us. Thank you for joining us today, and be sure to visit our website at www.icejcanada.tv or call us at 1-866-324-9133. Through your contribution to ICEJ Canada, you can participate by giving to Haifa Home for Holocaust Survivors, Women at Risk, Red Carpet Project, Operation Life Shield, Bomb-Proof Shelters, Shoulder to Shoulder, Alias Support, Bet Singer Children's Home, Israel in Crisis, ICEJ Communication Media Fund, Christian Friends of Yad Vashem, Magen David Adom Emergency Services, Canada Israel Young Adult Scholarship, Equip and Teach, Bet Rachel Strauss Inclusive Community, Gift, Estate, and Securities Funds.